Oh, for fuck's sake.
Hello and welcome to the Villa Park podcast. It's me, Rich, and I'm back this time with George to give your Premier League preview for Southampton versus Aston Villa. Another game coming up. They seem to be coming thick and fast, and we've got to get off that PSG disappointment, get over that PSG disappointment, and get back to winning ways in the Premier League to keep our pressure on the top five. George, how you doing, mate? It's a big game coming up on Saturday.
Hello, Rich. Hello, everyone. Yes, mate, I'm good. Just finished work. Beautiful sunny day today. Everyone's out in the gardens enjoying life. So it feels like a little taste of summer. So, this all helps get over the disappointment of the other night. But, as you say, we're back on the saddle, mate, and we're going to have to face another one this Saturday. And, it comes in the shape and form of Southampton. And without tempting fate, it's probably the game you would want after such a taxing game and sort of high pressure game on Wednesday night.
Yeah, exactly. Before we get right into it, make sure you hit that like button, everyone. Hit the subscribe button and get your comments and your thoughts on Saturday's game. Are we going to get back to winning ways or continuing our winning run in the Premier League? We should do. And I guess who do you expect Unai Emery to select with Wednesday having played and with Tuesday in mind? Before we get predicted lineups from you, George, Southampton, I mean, what a disappointing season that they've had to be relegated already. I think it's the fastest time a team's been relegated, and to be sitting on, is it 10 points for the season? I mean, what a terrible, horrible season for them this year.
Yeah, it's not gone well for them at all this year. I mean, I look back to our preview podcast at the start of the season, and I did kind of predict this sort of season for them. But, part of me feels sorry for them. Part of me feels like they've been an absolute disgrace to the Premier League this year. Just they're never prepared, really, were they, from day one? That fair play. They come up and they sort of try to play with a style that they had last season with Russell Martin. A bit of kamikaze football and suicidal football. But they had a plan, and to be fair to them, he went out on his sword, didn't he? And he kept trying to do the same. And they eventually sacked him, as they probably had to with the pressure. But it hasn't really got any better after that, has it? They've felt like they've been down the whole season, and it's no real shock to sort of see them down. But 10 points when you're in the middle of April, you wouldn't want to be a Southampton fan this year, would you?
No, I mean, hardly anything to cheer. You mentioned Russell Martin being sacked. They brought in Ivan Juric, I think his name is, and he's just been sacked as soon as relegation was confirmed. So they have caretaker manager Simon Rusk in this Saturday. Do you think they'll have any sort of new manager bounce? Do you think now that relegation has been confirmed that they'll maybe play with a bit more freedom? Is it maybe a little bit of a dangerous game for Villa to face?
No, I don't think so, mate. I think the damage has been done by this point, hasn't it? The confidence must be absolutely on the floor. There might be a little bit more freedom to their play, but at the same time, there's nothing left to play for, really, for them. They're down, the writing's on the wall, all's been said and done. And simply, they just haven't been good enough, and they haven't been physically strong enough to stand up to any challenge this season. So I can't see that all just changing now, just because their relegation's been confirmed. So I think they probably just want the season to end, and they can a replan for next season and hopefully make some better decisions.
Yeah, exactly. So with regards to Aston Villa, obviously, I'm sure it's going to be a completely different game than Wednesday, where it truly was backs to the wall, defending for our lives, trying to keep organised, trying to keep, PSG, probably the best side in Europe at the moment, at bay. how does Unai Emery sort of approach this game in terms of not necessarily personnel right now, but just in terms of mentality? Is it kind of just professional performance, or are we going to really try and look to kind of score goals and sort of build on that goal difference?
Well, from a physical point of view, there is not going to be a tougher game than they've had the other night. I mean, we really, really did have to work our socks off, didn't we? PSG give us a proper run around there for 90 minutes, and there was very little very sort of little breaks in between, was there? It was just attack after attack, and we could never really get our breaths back. So I'd imagine, depending on whether he changes a lot of the side, which I suggest he might for this one, I think you've just got to get that one out of your head. It's now a one-off game at Villa Park, isn't it? That first leg's gone, so we've just got to get that out of our minds and get back to the job in hand in the Premier League of trying to maybe reach the Champions League again or whatever European competition we can. So I think, it's just a concentration issue. And I don't think you have to go out and try and prove anything extra just because we lost the game the other night. Just go out and we've got the better players and just, as PSG had the other night, and you've just got to make that count, haven't you? And just get the 3 points. I mean, as for the goal difference, I think it's a bit late in the day to be worrying about that. We're so far behind most of the others by a good 15, 20 goals. So I don't think that's really going to make much difference. So I think you just try and win the game, Rich, and that will be that.
Yeah. I mean, in terms, we are on level, was it level goal difference now? Yeah, like you say, I mean, Newcastle on plus 13 are the closest ones to us. Fulham just behind us with they're 3 points behind us on plus 5. So, I mean, theoretically, if we could get a good few goals tomorrow, let's say 4 or something, I'm not going to sort of do score predictions right now, and 1 or 2 of these teams above us lose a game, we've got Newcastle next week. You could see that goal difference maybe starts to swing just that little bit. But I do take your point. It's quite a considerable gap, isn't it?
Yeah, as I say, it might swing a touch. I mean, to be fair, it depends whether you're looking up or down, isn't it? I wasn't actually thinking there where you're talking about the Fulhams and the Brightons that are still in there with us. It could count with regards to if we wasn't to make that jump. We don't want them teams below us making the jump above us, do we? So, no. You do have to keep an eye on them. Still all to play for, mate.
Yeah, definitely. With regard to Unai Emery's press conference, obviously I haven't seen him comment on the actual game. I imagine he'll be saying, professional performance, that kind of stuff. But he has hinted at almost a full strength squad. Leon Bailey, potentially training with the team today. If he's not right for the squad today, for tomorrow's game, he might play a part on Tuesday. So he can't, certainly, again, we've talked about this a couple of weeks ago, he has the options to play with now in terms of his squad and in terms of keeping players fresh for all the competitions.
Of course, yeah, we've got a big squad, mate, and if they're fit, then bloody use them. Do you know what I mean? There's a few of them there that haven't had a great deal of minutes this season. It's nice to see Ross Barkley now fit after a long layoff. I wonder whether you might see him chucked in tomorrow at some stage, or I don't know whether it's too early or not. And as you say about Leon Bailey, it's kind of like he's had a bit of an injury lately and he's kind of drifting out of the reckoning a little bit, it feels. So, I'd imagine he'd be keen to get himself back in there before the end of the season, but he might have just been slipping down the pecking order a bit. But yeah, we've got options for sure. You've got Bogard there that's just signed a new deal that's been pushing the squad all season. You've got Garcia there that's fresh, that's not been in the Champions League. So, there's plenty of options there. And we're saying about Southampton, obviously you don't take the game for absolute granted, but, there's chance here, I think, to give some people games and try and keep your best side fresh for the second leg against PSG, because they'll need to be, won't they?
Yeah, 100%. So let's have a look at your predicted lineup and see how you are scoping it for tomorrow. Oh, some interesting choices in there. Let's talk us through then, George.
Yeah, so the obvious ones, I've been saying this for weeks, and I know I'm not alone here. All right, we know Rodgers and Tielemans are probably our key players now, but they've half been put through the ringer this season, haven't they? They've played and they've played and they've played. And to be fair, they both still look good. But I thought Tielemans did look a bit jaded the other night. it was just, a bit. I guess it's a bit soul destroying, isn't it? When you saw the quality of them PSG players, and he couldn't stand out in that game like he usually does. And I don't know. I just feel that them two could do with just a game or two off, just to try and freshen them up and get them back in the best condition. And as I just mentioned, Bogard a minute ago, he's done well when he's played this season, so I wouldn't mind seeing him having a game. Onana, since he's come back from injury, he started the game, played well, a couple of cameos. He was pretty good the other night when he came on.
Yeah.
Garcia, when he's played, not let anyone down at all, really, other than maybe a tough start. Maatsen or Dean, really. Maatsen played very well last week against Forest, didn't he? He was probably the pick of the bunch, in my opinion. And Marlon, he's got 2 goals in 2 games. And Watkins, see, it feels weird talking about Watkins like he's some sort of backup option, and he's really not. But he's had a few injury problems, it appears, this season. And Watkins, his confidence is probably shot a little bit now, seeing some of the other attacking options, sort of kind of step up to the plate and take the weight off him. That kind of knocks Watkins a little bit. And I feel a game like this could get him back on track, maybe get a goal or 2 and start feeling like the main man again.
Yeah. I don't necessarily disagree too much with that side at all. I think Martinez in goal, definitely. I agree with the fullbacks. I think maybe Disasi and Mings could be the centre-back partnership. Maybe he did that for Forest game, so I think maybe he does that again. Onana, I think, will start. He might do Barkley. If Barkley was on the bench the other day, he might do Barkley instead of Bogard, but I think that's a decent option. Asensio, I agree with. Watkins, I agree with. Marlon, definitely. And then, it's whether he starts Rashford or maybe starts Ramsey or something like that. But I don't disagree with a big chunk of that team, and it's really good, isn't it, to have the options that we have, and I kind of feel sorry for Marlon and Garcia that they're not in that Champions League squad, because I really think that they would have potentially been like real options for us to be able to have brought on as substitutes in that game on Wednesday, or even to utilize the next Tuesday, because as good a defender as Disasi is, I think him against that Kvaratskhelia was really difficult, or even against Doué was really difficult for him. And I think Marlon, just to have that direct running ability, would have been really interesting to be able to use. So to have them available for Saturday is really important as well.
Yeah, fully agree with that. I mean, the squad list is what it is, so we can't really cry about it. But it did feel the other night, didn't it? It just felt that a second Cash got that yellow, everything just suddenly felt a little bit tougher, didn't it? Because Cash, I thought, was having a pretty good start to the game. People will talk about Cash's quality, but they can't sort of knock his athleticism, and that was what was needed in that game. And I thought he was standing up reasonably well. And that yellow just kind of, you can see why Unai took him off, because going down to 10, we'd have been out of that tie by now, wouldn't we? But bringing Big Disasi on, that wasn't a game for him. And, and he struggled, I thought, literally the second he come on that pitch, and we were in trouble after that, weren't we? So, it's a shame the lad Garcia couldn't play, but such is life, mate. We can't have it all, can we? No,
of course we can't. So, I mean, in terms of Saturday, like I say, that team and whatever team he puts out, let's be honest, should be strong enough to beat Southampton, particularly in the situation that they're in, like you've said, particularly even with maybe the shackles off a little bit, physically, possession-wise, we should be able to do this. However, when we've talked about these games that we should be winning, Ipswich, we've only took 1 point off this season. We drew, we've drawn 2 points. We've drew against numerous teams at home this season. I think we only beat Southampton 1-0 at Villa Park, despite missing numerous chances. So we can't take this game lightly one bit, can we?
No, of course not, mate. You've got to be professional in every game. It's easy me sitting here in my comfy chair saying how easy it should be because Southampton are relegated and they've been a disgrace. But at the end of the day, they're still a Premier League side, and they can, every Premier League side's got proper players, haven't they, that can turn up, whether it's every week or just once in a while. So you just got to do a professional job and just get the win. As I said, I'm not really bothered whether we score 5 goals or whether we score 1 at the moment. We just got to keep our Premier League momentum. I mean, what we're looking for now is to be 4 in a row in the league, won't it?
Yeah.
Something we haven't done all season. And we're coming right into the crunch time now of the season. So if you want to be on a good run, now's the time to be on it, isn't it? And just win the game, mate. That's my tactical advice.
Yeah, definitely. Well, looking at the fixtures across the league this weekend, Brighton have Leicester at home, Nottingham Forest have Everton at home, Southampton, obviously, we have Southampton away, Man City have Crystal Palace at home, and then on the Sunday, it's Newcastle at home to Manchester United, Chelsea at home to Ipswich. So you're kind of thinking that each team really within that top sort of 7 or 8 should be looking to win those games. So any drop points in these, Bournemouth, Fulham, that's the big game on Monday night. But any of those across Saturday and Sunday, I mean, if one of those teams sort of drops any points, it's kind of, I think, viewed as, because the stakes are so high, it's viewed as a real disappointing result. You know, even say Newcastle at home to Manchester United, you know, any sort of drop points at this stage of the season could potentially be really damaging.
Yeah, 100%. That's I didn't know the fixtures, and that's a little bit of a shame because you're thinking from the Villa perspective, you're thinking this is a great chance to propel ourselves up the table and into the mix. But all of them are pretty much winnable. It's weird to say that about Man United, but it's true. All those are pretty much, they're not bankers, are they? But you're going to heavily fancy the teams around us all to win. So yeah, everyone's got to do their bit because if you do lose the game, the chances are the other teams are all going to win theirs, and you're 3 points behind again, aren't you? Or 2 points behind or whatever.
Yeah. Well, before we get your score prediction, in terms of Opta statistics, they have us as a 21% chance of the top 5. Where are you sitting in that sort of percentage chances of Villa finishing in the top 5 right now?
Well, I know what you'd be thinking. I'd be thinking, but you'd be wrong a little bit because things have changed in this last month. I think when I was talking a month ago, I wasn't wrong what I was saying, but we hadn't put together a decent run of results to suggest that we were going to put ourselves in the mix. But fair play, we have now. We've now got ourselves in and around it, haven't we? I still think 20% is probably about right. It just because of the difficulty of the fixtures we've got left. But you kind of, that Newcastle game looks massive for me next week. Yeah. Obviously, you've got to do your bit tomorrow and win. Whatever that Newcastle game is, ask me again after that because you'll have more of an idea. But looking at Forest now, I was so sure that Forest had done enough. They looked clear and away to me, but all of a sudden, they just a defeat to us. And they suddenly look, when it's 57 against 52, you're thinking, actually, could they be dragged back into the mix? Chelsea seem to have, they're still winning games, but they don't look massively convincing, do they? And you're thinking of Chelsea, they've been up and down all season, haven't they? They've had great runs and bad runs. You're hoping they're starting to slip off. So, there's half a chance. I think Newcastle are nailed on for it. I actually think they're nailed on for it with their game in hand. I think they're definitely getting one of them spaces. And you're expecting Man City, because they're Man City, to, get the job done. But they don't look convincing either. And you're wondering how much they want it. They don't look like they really want it at this stage. They look like they've just, they've had 4 seasons of winning the league, or Champions League. They've won it all. They seem like they've been on the beach all season, to me anyway. But they still have that quality. So you'd still make them, I think City and Newcastle are in pole position to get it. And then you've got Chelsea, and Forest, obviously, just because of the position they're in. And I think you're looking at, us and Chelsea fighting. I don't know. What do you reckon, Rich? What do you reckon? Do you think we can do it?
I think we can. I agree with you. Like, after that Newcastle City game, if we can somehow pull out 4 points, I mean, maybe even 3 points from those 2 games, assuming that we win tomorrow against Southampton, I think we've got a really, really good shot, because again, that's another 3 games in along in the process, and a couple of other teams might have dropped points. Fulham might have dropped it further out, out of it. Brighton might have dropped out of it. So that means that kind of the teams that are battling for it kind of fritter away. And then you get more towards that end of season game, and you've got Fulham at home. You've got Tottenham at home, and you've got Manchester United away. Those, with all due respect, if they haven't got anything to play for apart from sort of pride, there's that element of, right, we can really go after this. So I think the next two after this game are really key. I think 20-25% at the moment is probably about fair based on the difficulty of the games that we've got. But as you said, in terms of the form that we're in, we've certainly put ourselves really right back in the frame for it. The only thing I would say to counter that is all those teams are on pretty good form right now. Newcastle are on 12 points from the last 5 games, as well as us. Chelsea, despite having poor form, what it looks like, are on 10 points from the last 5 games. Nottingham Forest, same, 10 points from the last 5 games. Man City are on 8 points from the last 5 games. So they're the one team that is probably not quite at the form that they were at before, or that they should be at this stage of the season. Fulham are on 9 points in the last 5 games. So it's going to take still a monumental effort or a real drop-off from a couple of those teams that are in that run. Like, even if we beat Newcastle, they'll still have if they win tomorrow, they'll still be on 10 or 12 points from 5 games, which is about what you need to be at. So I always maintained we needed to get out of that sort of 8 points from the last 5, or sort of 9 points from 6. We needed to be in the 12 points from 6, at least 2 points a game, and that is currently where we're tracking at the minute. But you've got to rely on a couple of other teams to drop right off and drop down to sort of 1.5 points per game and stuff like that. So that's where it's really difficult, because you're predicting what the other teams do.
Of course it is. That's why I kept saying, I know we're playing them all and we could beat them all, but what about their other games? I hear a few of them are playing each other down the line as well, without seeing the fixtures. So, what are you looking for? Both teams to draw, so you can make ground on both, or are you looking for one to lose so you can jump over them? It's all kind of like, you can't really sit here and predict it, can you? You just got to go week to week and keep judging it each time.
Exactly. Right, mate. We have prediction time. So, as I say, Southampton tomorrow. Hopefully, Villa I'm sure they will. I'm sure, we will not let them rest on their laurels, and we have a lot of competition for places in the squad to make sure that players are at the top of their game. So what are you saying for tomorrow for your score prediction, George?
I'm going to go for a 2-0 Villa win. Goal in each half. Ollie Watkins to take the cobwebs away from him a bit, get him back being loved and loving himself and loving Villa. And I reckon it'll be Rashford that will probably come on for Watkins, maybe. Well, actually, I'll put them both in the starting lineup. So we'll go for Rashford for the second one. Yeah. Nice.
Everyone else, please get your comments in, your thoughts on the scoreline and who is going to score, and make sure you smash a like and hit that subscribe button as well. Help us on the road to 6K. George, I am going to say 3-0 Villa. Watkins, I agree with you. Daniel Marlon to keep his Premier League goal scoring run going. And let's go with Amadou Onana for a goal.
He's due one, isn't he? After the start he made, it's all gone very quiet. But he started like a steam train, didn't he?
Yeah. That's what I think. And I think we'll go marching on. And there might well be a little surprise result somewhere along the line for another team in the Premier League, but I'm pretty sure it's not going to be us. George, thank you very much, mate, for jumping on. As I said, everyone, get your comments in, your thoughts on tomorrow's game, i.e. Saturday's game. Hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, help us on the road to 6K. We'll be back I've got talking tactics from that PSG game with Gareth, so make sure you stay tuned for that later today, later on Friday evening. And I'll have match reaction to the Southampton game, PSG preview, so loads of shows coming up on the channel. Thank you all for watching, and as always, remember, we all follow the Villa.